to The Hypnotist, the show that gives you inside access to cutting-edge hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. Brought to you by the hypnotherapist demanded by celebrities, CEOs, and even royalty, Adam Cox. These recordings took place live from Adam's clinic in London's world-famous Harley Street. So, get yourself comfortable and enjoy today's episode of The Hypnotist.
Hi, it's Adam here, and you're about to listen to a hypnosis session all about facing a fear. And I was working with a client that happened to have a fear of driving, particularly on motorways and dual carriageways. And it had become almost the thinking about the problem itself was causing the anxiety. And that creates a self-fulfilling prophecy, because if thinking about it makes you anxious, and anxious creates avoidance, and then you never do the thing, you can never call the bluff on that anxiety. So the essence of this hypnosis session is to really prepare the mind to feel capable and willing to experience temporary discomfort, to do the thing in a resourceful way, and by doing so, shatter the very shackles that keep the anxiety in place. You've got to think of it as almost kind of like if the belief system that causes the anxiety is based on a false belief, and avoiding means that you never get to disprove that belief, then the anxiety continues. By doing it and doing it until you feel completely comfortable and relaxed, that's the thing that's called the convincer strategy that absolutely shatters the belief. And this client had experiences of just feeling, I'm just going to do it, and fully committing to that thing. And that was things that related to things that most people would consider scary, like large motorcycle jumps. But they committed to the thing, they did the thing, and the anxiety went away. It takes that essence and applies it to the motorway or a road driving, and it uses the essence of what courage is all about. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's the willingness to feel anxious, to feel on edge, to feel that kind of daunting sensation, and then just do the thing anyway. And what you tend to find is that the very moment that you don't just tentatively do it, but absolutely commit to the thing, quite often the anxiety disappears immediately, and you get the evidence that you can do the thing that you were avoiding. And that's what has that house of cards come, crumbling down, and then the anxiety doesn't come back. So if you have any form of anxiety that is specifically triggered by one thing, you're going to get some value from this. If you have anxiety linked to the idea of driving, you're going to get more value from this hypnosis. And I would encourage you to test this first. If this works, great. If you feel some progress, or you feel a shift, or it's not quite calibrated perfectly to you because it was created for someone else, either go to adamcox.co.uk, that's my website, or have a look in the description of this episode, and you'll see that you can actually work with me in many different ways, either through my courses, one-to-one sessions, various things, including accessing a whole archive of every recording that I've ever done. So if that's of interest, check that out. But for now, find a quiet, comfortable place where you won't be distracted or disturbed. Relax and enjoy the session. Take a deep breath in, and as you breathe in that resourceful feeling of calm and relaxation, and as you exhale, that's it. Allow your eyes to close, eyelids feeling heavier, and with your eyes closed, you become more aware of the sound of my voice. Breathing in relaxation and exhaling tension. That's it. And as you breathe in that feeling of relaxation, I want you to get a sense that your body can transition from alertness and vigilance to calmness and relaxation. And the law of dominant effect says that you can't experience conflicting emotions at the same time. So as you breathe in that feeling of calm relaxation, tension, stress, and worries naturally melt away, enabling you to drift to that place where change can happen easier, quicker, and the changes last longer. Scan your body for any clues of tension, perhaps the back of the neck, the jaw, shoulders or arms, and set the intention to release every time you breathe out, releasing anything your body doesn't need. That's it. And the deeper you breathe, the more relaxed you feel. And the more relaxed you feel, the deeper you breathe. Each breath takes you deeper and deeper relaxed. And as your physical body relaxes, your imagination awakens. And as your body settles even more, your mind can begin to listen in a slightly different way. This experience now isn't about removing fear. It's about understanding it, seeing through it, and responding differently to it. For many people, they create a rule, either in all parts of their life or just some parts. A rule that says, I must feel comfortable or confident before I do the thing. And that rule can feel true. And sometimes it's helpful. But it's not always helpful. And it's not always true. Because you can see the pattern where this rule can create a loop. Where if you wait to feel ready, but readiness never comes. Because the readiness is not something that appears first. The readiness is an evaluation when you break the loop. And I wonder if you can imagine for a moment that fear or anxiety is like a voice that makes predictions, like the boy who cried wolf. What if this happens? What if that happens? And because you don't want this or that to happen, the easiest thing to do is to avoid, just in case. And if you never do this or that, it's difficult to see that the wolf is never there. And perhaps for a long time, that voice has been treated as truth. But what if it's just a bluff? Some people think of fear as an acronym, FEAR, false evidence that appears real. Fear doesn't actually know what will happen, just what may happen. And sometimes the assessment of probability is out of sync with reality. It guesses, it exaggerates, it tries to protect, but it doesn't control reality. And you might begin to realize that fear is loud, but not powerful. And there's another part within you, a quieter part, but far more reliable. The part of you that has already done difficult things. There are many people, perhaps in your industry, that thought of running their own business, but never did, just in case something unpleasant happens. They're on the sidelines waiting to feel confident enough, but sometimes that confidence never comes. Or a motorcyclist looking at a jump, waiting to feel ready. But if they never feel perfectly ready, they never do the jump, and they never have evidence that they are capable of doing it. So I want you to activate the part of you that has already done difficult things, already believed in yourself, already fully committed, the part that has driven before, handled pressure, adapted, responded, and figured things out. That part of you is never waiting for comfort. It's not waiting for permission. It just needs direction. And I wonder if you could imagine a moment where you feel that familiar hesitation. Perhaps you can imagine a roundabout with several exits, one of them being the exit. And maybe you can imagine a moment where the mind says, not yet, not ready, maybe later. And instead of resisting that feeling, you allow it to be there, just noticing it without needing to change it. But what if in a moment, even if it's a split second, without waiting to feel ready, you act anyway? Not because you feel confident, but because you've decided, I'm just going to do it. Whatever happens, will happen. You fully commit. And when you've decided that action is no longer dependent on comfort or certainty, something changes. And as you imagine taking that action, you might notice something surprising. Not only does the fear not stop you, it comes with you and very quickly fades. Some people believe that fear is like shadows, and action and decisions are like light. How quickly the shadows disappear when the light switches on. So imagine that anxiety or fear fading, not all at once, but enough, because your brain starts to learn something new. That fear doesn't mean stop. What if it just means you're on the edge of your comfort zone? And that feeling, the feeling of anxiety or fear, and choosing to act anyway, that is courage. Can you really call someone courageous if there is no fear? If they're doing something well within their capabilities and comfort zone? Courage requires challenge. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the willingness to feel it and move anyway. But what's fascinating is the more you feel the fear and move anyway, the more elusive the fear becomes. I want you to imagine a stretch of road. How likely is it that you feel fear or anxiety the 177th time you take that journey? There might be a bit on the first, a bit less on the second, and I wonder if it's 5 or 10 or 15 journeys before you don't notice it at all, that it doesn't require courage. The 17th time, even if it did, on the first, second, or third. So imagine doing that, and you might begin to notice that every time you feel the fear, you do it anyway. Even slightly, even imperfectly, something shifts. The rule is changing. That rule that you must feel comfortable before you act changes too. I act first, knowing that comfort and confidence is the reward, not the prerequisite. And the more you act, the more familiar it becomes, the more normal it feels, until something that once felt difficult becomes routine, predictable, perhaps even boring and mundane. And that's how your brain recalibrates, not through waiting, but through doing. So just imagine one more specific situation. A time where in the past you may have hesitated or avoided. And this time, the anxiety becomes the motivation. Because when people make a habit of moving towards their fears, they get less fear, less anxiety, but also achieve more freedom in their life. When you can acknowledge it and you move towards it, more often than not, it disappears. And I want you to feel calm enough, focused enough, capable enough. And as you do, you might even feel a quiet sense of satisfaction. Your brain loves dopamine, and doing something challenging and coming out the other side is a wonderful way to feel proud, accomplished, liberated. And what if that becomes your new reference point? Courage first, comfort later, not the other way round. And what if from this moment on, that feeling of fear, anxiety, becomes a signal, not to stop, but to go? What if fear was never the barrier? The waiting or the avoiding was. And as you hold that thought, I want you to dial up feelings of courage, determination, and a willingness to get more experience doing the very things that you've been avoiding. waiting for the right moment. To feel the courage, act upon it, and notice how quickly any fear or anxiety disappears. So as you leave this place in your imagination, start to return to the present. Take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your nose. Just wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes, connect and calibrate into the here and the now, as I now count from 1 to 10 to awaken you. Starting to count. 1, 2, 3, waking up. 4, 5, 6, more alert. 7, 8, open your eyes, open your eyes. 9, 10, wide awake, wide awake, wide awake. Thank you so much for joining me on today's episode of The Hypnotist. If you've enjoyed this episode or got some value from it, please give it a 5-star rating and review. And maybe you know someone that would also benefit from this particular episode, in which case share the episode with them so they can also get the benefit too. And if you would like to listen to this episode where it's just the hypnosis, so no intro, no outro, no explanation, just the hypnosis and completely ad-free, there will be a link in the description where you can subscribe at a very low cost and only get access to the hypnosis. So if that's of interest, please check that out. Thank you again for being a regular listener of The Hypnotist, and I'll see you again soon for more.